Would I be the asshole for not sending a gift for a wedding I wasn't invited to? My cousin, Ted, and I are close in age, few years apart. We were always close as kids and even into adulthood still kept in touch. Then Ted met Maddie a few years ago and started bringing her to family stuff. I don't have a problem with Maddie, but we just didn't click. We talk at family stuff, but she's not someone I want to hang out with or become friends with. My other cousin, Ted's sister, really clicked with Maddie, which cool and good for them, but I just don't. I'm nice and polite, but I don't got out of my way to become her bestie. My aunt, Ted's mom, really pushed her on me though. I don't know if it's because we're the same age-ish or what, but it was annoying. Anytime we were both at an event she'd find some way to push us together. I felt like a little kid being forced to play with someone. My own college graduation party, grandparents had it because they have a bigger house, yard. Had to be moved because Maddie had to work and it wouldn't be nice to exclude her. Even though it was inconvenient for me and meant most of my friends couldn't come and I had to rush around. Anyway, like I said, I've never been rude or anything to her, just never really bonded with her. So Ted and Maddie are getting married soon. I knew he was engaged, but I didn't know the wedding was when it is. Another family member asked what I was getting them for a wedding gift and I said, I don't know. They said, better figure it out before wedding date, which is very soon. I said, oh, I didn't know. I wasn't invited. They said, well, maybe it's not personal. You should still get a gift for them. I asked my dad when he got his invitation and I guess it was a while ago. I said it's crappy that I wasn't invited when I had to reschedule my party for them. He said, that was a graduation party, this is a wedding. Now that you know about it, just be a bigger person and get a gift, don't be petty. I don't want to buy them a gift, and I probably won't invite Ted to any future events I have. I don't know why I was left out when everyone else in the family was invited. Maybe because I'm the only cousin on this side. Maybe it's a budget thing and not personal, but I don't want to spend the money on a gift when I wasn't cool enough to invite. To me it's like having a birthday party and expecting someone I didn't invite to send me a birthday present. Am I the asshole if I don't send a gift? Not the asshole, you weren't invited, they don't get a present. Send a nice congrats card to placate your family, but you absolutely do not need to spend money on them. Edit. Send a nice congrats card if you want to placate your family. If you want to tell them all to pound sand instead, that's also an option. The card is a compromise to mitigate collateral family damage, but a couple comments seem like they'd rather the pound sand route. Do what you want, op. I'm a random comment on the internet, not a cop. Not the asshole. It's really fucking weird to revolve a party around some cousin's fiancé. Or anyone that doesn't involve the person it's celebrating or an emergency of the person giving it. I could see a sibling. Also, no invite means you aren't obligated to send a gift. I bet your family is toxic in other ways. Not the asshole. I have never heard of an obligatory wedding gift for a wedding you were not invited to. Am I the asshole for cutting off support to my daughter? I, 52M, have 3 children with my ex Tracy, 50F, Michael, 28M, Linda, 25F, and Victoria, 23F. We split because Tracy had an affair with Stan, 55M, to whom she is now married. We never shared with the kids the reason for the divorce, as I didn't want them to blame either of us. This backfired as the kids saw their mom move out of the house, into a small apartment, and me keep living in the house and remarry 2 years after the divorce. So they saw me as the bad guy. Stan and Tracy let them pretty much do whatever they wanted, and I had to be the disciplinarian who made sure homework was done, appointments were made, and deadlines were met. My 2 oldest eventually came to realize that I was not the bad guy. My son, when he found out that his mother had put nothing away for college for him as outlined in our divorce decree and she told him to take out loans. My daughter, when she realized that her grades were going to keep her out of her desired program in school. My youngest never came around. So it was a surprise when her boyfriend asked for my blessing to ask for her hand. When I expressed that I didn't think she'd care about my blessing, he said she insisted on it. She began spending time with me, being polite to my wife, and it felt wonderful to have my daughter back. I went with them to book the venue, and they'll be getting married next summer. I paid the deposit and the first installment. I noticed that she was becoming less communicative again recently, ignoring my texts or giving one-word replies, and not coming over as much. On Monday, my son sent me a post from Instagram. My youngest had an engagement party this weekend to which I was not invited. One of the photos was her with Stan and it read, "Anyone can be a father. It takes a real man to be a dad." This amazing guy has been my dad for 15 years even though he didn't have to be. I am so blessed to have him walk me down the aisle next year. #daddy's girl #futuremersex. My kids wanted for nothing their entire lives because I never let them go without. Even when they wouldn't talk to me, I made sure their needs were met. I texted Tracy to ask why I was not included. She replied that Victoria didn't want my wife there because she wanted a drama-free day. My wife has literally never started drama in her life. I asked if Stan and I would both be walking her down the aisle. Tracy didn't respond, but Victoria called me up demanding to know what my problem was. I repeated my question and she replied that no, Stan, her dad, would be walking her down the aisle. I told her that if that's what she wanted I would be fine with it. I told her to let Stan know the next payment for the wedding is due in November. Stan and Tracy do not have the money for this wedding and think I'm being an asshole. Linda says if I do this, Victoria will never speak to me again. Michael is on my side. Not the asshole. If you aren't her dad in her eyes, then why would you pay for the wedding? And here is a novel idea. The bride and groom can pay for the wedding instead of the parents. Not the asshole. Maybe it's time you told your kids the real reason behind the divorce. Not the asshole, and your title is wrong. You aren't cutting off support. You're declining to pay for the remainder of the wedding expenses when you are going to be disrespected at the event. It's pretty obvious that Victoria cozied up to you for a while. And even had her boyfriend ask for your blessing, to sucker you into paying for everything. If Stan is her dad, he should fill the traditional role, and he and Tracy should pay the expenses the bride's family traditionally pay. Am I the asshole for calling out my dad and stepdad? I, 16 female, have a twin brother, Cody. I do cheer and Cody does sports. We do these activities because we enjoy them, but Cody also puts in a lot of effort because he's constantly seeking approval from our dad and stepdad. The two don't care for each other, but are somehow the best of friends when it comes to Cody's sports. He does like 5 different ones because our dad likes hockey and lacrosse while our stepdad prefers football and basketball. They both enjoy baseball. If he ever dares to quit a single one of them will throw a riot or accuse him of playing favorites. It's so dumb. Sometimes Cody's schedules clash or get so overwhelming to the point where he'll lay on his bedroom floor for hours and dissociate. It's been like this since he was like 10. My mom and stepmom think it's just men being men and that boys enjoy sports, so Cody probably doesn't care, but like there's a limit to everything, right? We were having a celebratory lunch for our older sister before she leaves for college and both sides were there. The lunch ended at 2 p.m. and our sister asked if we wanted to go to the mall. I said yes and Cody was clearly going to say yes, but our dad said he had baseball practice. Cody tried asking if he could sit out one day since he hasn't missed a single practice of anything in his life, but our stepdad joined our dad's practice makes perfect speech and backed out. They then tried using me as an example. Oh, Ashley's never missed a day of practice and look at her. Medals and trophies for days. I thought this was ridiculous. I've missed plenty of practices and Cody has more awards than me. I asked them if they were being serious and told them what I just mentioned. My dad kept telling me to be quiet, but I called him and my stepdad losers that need to realize that Cody is a human being with limits, not a doll they can program or play with. Both of them were very embarrassed. My dad told me that I was being very disrespectful. My mom joined in and said I was reading too much into the whole thing and that they're men and I simply won't get their dynamics. I call bullshit, but they're all saying I'm in the wrong and need to apologize. My sister agrees with me but says I was disrespectful. Cody doesn't want to talk about it. Am I the asshole? Just to make it clear, the practice was an informal one. Think of it as extra credit, to strengthen specific skills. Not the asshole, it needed to be said and it's sad that no one has said it before. Good for you for standing up for him. When your brother has a breakdown because of the pressure, your dad and stepdad will be there all confused as to why that's happened. Not the asshole, somebody has to stand up for your brother, and since both mums in this scenario failed to do so, your brother is lucky to have a sister like you. Both your dad and stepdad are the Oz in this scenario. They need to grow up and realize that your brother quitting a sport from either side, that doesn't count as him playing favorites. God, they sound so immature. Not the asshole, your parents all suck. You did good. Maybe reach out to someone that they are afraid of to set them straight, a grandparent maybe. And next time your parents say no, drag your brother out with you anyway. Not the asshole. 5 sports is ridiculous. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay rent towards my BF's mortgage if I move in with him? My boyfriend, 33M, and I, 29F, have been dating for 3 years. He owns a house and lives there by himself. I live in an apartment by myself. We've talked about moving in together as that's the logical next step in our relationship and we both want to do it. But I have some hang-ups related to moving into a house that I don't have any stake in. I am refusing to pay any money that would go directly towards his mortgage. I don't have any stake in the house. Why would I contribute to his mortgage payments? I'm okay helping with utilities, groceries, household items, etc. But paying his mortgage is a hard no from me. I just don't think it makes any sense for me to pay towards his mortgage when I would get nothing from that if we were to break up. His argument is that I would essentially be living with him for free and it would cause an uneven dynamic in our payment towards shared living expenses. Which, I kind of get. But at the same time he's the one benefiting from paying down the mortgage and gaining equity, not me. He also argued that his mortgage is pretty much exactly what I was paying in rent, so by cutting that in half I am saving a lot of money on living costs compared to living on my own. Which, yeah, that's nice too, but legally it's still not my house. I told him the only way I would pay money for rent is if he signs a contract with me stating that any money I pay towards his mortgage will be paid back to me, by him, in the event that we break up. It would also allow me protection from eviction and other basic tenant rights, similar to a rental agreement. He is refusing to sign anything like that because, in his words, I could break up with him for no reason and then take him to court for thousands of dollars. Which, I suppose is true, but I wouldn't just break up with him for no reason. This whole situation is driving a wedge between us and he's pissed at me for being so difficult, when all he thinks he is asking is that we split living expenses 50-50 if we are to live together. To me, it's not that simple when he's the one owning the house we would live in. If I were on the title, it would be a different story, but he's not willing to put me on the title because he's lived there for 7 years already. My lease at my apartment is up in 2 months and I know I need to make a decision sooner than later. It doesn't help that my landlord is going to be increasing my rent, and similar apartments in our area are going for even more than I'm currently paying. But I just don't feel right contributing money towards his mortgage. I also know that if I renew my lease, it's pretty much a dagger to our relationship, which I don't want because I do love him and see a future with him. I just want to make sure I'm protected. I can tell my BF's patience on this is wearing thin and he's upset with me for digging my heels in on this. But for me, this is about protecting myself for the worst case scenario while he's not really risking anything. You clearly don't have any problem paying your landlord's mortgage and you have no stake in that. How is this any different? You live there, you can help pay for the expenses. You are the asshole. If you were moving into an apartment together, would you refuse to pay rent? I don't know if it makes you an asshole, but he's definitely right and you're definitely wrong. You are the asshole. Ask yourself, would you ask your landlord for the money back you paid when you move out? Or ask your landlord if he put your name on his house because you paid rent for a couple of years? If no, why would you expect your boyfriend to do so? I told him the only way I would pay money for rent is if he signs a contract with me stating that any money I pay towards his mortgage will be paid back to me, by him, in the event that we break up. So you could cheat on him, and if he dumped you he'd owe you money? LMAO. That is ridiculous and he should have dumped you on the spot. You are the asshole.